We are back. That took a minute. I think the Wi-Fi is a little wonky down here, but the one thing I can tell you for sure is that my phone doesn't have very good service down here. But welcome back, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day on your lunch break, hopefully, to check us out. We have some awesome guests. We have Mike T with TC Backer. We have Robert P. Posey, Pistols and Posies with Limitless Group. And what else? What else are you dabbling with today, Robert?
Oh my God. RemoteRep.com. We've got a software company. Consulting with you.
Yeah, you got all kinds of stuff.
Doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's why I thought I'd just put you on the spot real quick. And
yeah,
I didn't want to go down or cross the line of maybe there's some hush hush.
And I don't know what all I'm supposed to share.
Oh,
so,
but you can share. Never mind. Not what you were doing prior to us going live here, but anything else other than that. But no, we thought we'd get on here. One, I thought we'd talk about, the grand opening. Obviously, that's why we're here. Bluffton, South Carolina. What county is this, by the way?
Yeah, Beaufort County.
Yep. Does Beaufort County cover Hilton Head and Bluffton?
Yeah, the counties down here are really weird. It kind of covers Ridgeland, Okeechobee, Bluffton, into Hilton Head. I don't know if it entirely covers Hilton Head.
It does.
It does it? Okay. So yeah, it's
all the way
County's
to
big.
St. Helena, Hunting Island, all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the local areas.
That's right.
For sure.
You're like a transient.
Yeah.
Or
Transplant.
I'm no trans.
But you used to live here.
I did. I used to live here. I grew up here.
Yeah.
From 5th grade, right up until high school. So, did I ever share the red Ferrari story?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Do you want to share that?
was here.
Oh,
I can share that.
yeah. Would you like to share the red Ferrari story?
Yeah. So, sure. Pivotal moments.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
pivotal moments. If you pay attention throughout your life, there's always moments, and they may seem small during the moment, and then you look back at it and you realize, if that hadn't have happened, I may never be where I am. So the red Ferrari story was the first real pivotal moment for me. I was 16 years old, standing on a curb, smoking a cigarette, just being a degenerate, like 15 minutes from here, right up the road. And a guy pulls up in a red Ferrari, and there's a valet stand over here. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't working. I was just full degenerate. The way he came around the back of his car, it looked like he was walking up to me. And I felt like we were in the same airspace, so we should share words. And I asked him, "Hey, man, how do I get a car like that?" And he laughed. He kind of chuckled. And he basically said, "You got to move away from here." And I'm like, well, we're in a nice area. There's a lot of people here with money. Like, why wouldn't I stay here? And he said, no, these are retired. This is a retirement community. These people want to keep their money long enough to die and have enough left over to give it to their kids. And I was like, all right, fair. So what would I do? He said, move to a big city and get your hand in on as many transactions as you can. So 18 years old, I moved myself to Atlanta where I had some family. I got my first job. Accidentally, now this is all in the back of my head. A year, maybe almost 2 years ago. No, 2 years goes by. I get my first sales job by accident. And when I made my first commission check, I realized I had a percentage of a sale. And I've thought back to this dude. So that I kept getting better because I needed more percentages of more transactions. This is the advice the red Ferrari guy told me. And then one day it clicked for me. I hired my first sales rep to sell for me. And I realized I have 24 hours in a day. They have 24 hours in a day. Kept hiring sales reps and realized every time I hire a sales rep, I gain leverage. I got more percentages of more sales. And I didn't actually have to spend the time anymore doing the actual transaction. So I've made pretty much every business decision I've ever made has come from the back of a 30-second conversation that happened 15 minutes from here.
Wow.
That's the red Ferrari story.
Was that? Like
I was 16. So that was
about 16 years ago.
20 or 21 years ago, 22
Okay.
years ago.
Wow. No, that's an amazing story. That really is. And what's crazy, like that was totally not scripted, which I'm sure can segue into a lot of great conversations of pivotal moments, the amount of transactions, success, how we measure success, or those little seeds that have been planted over the years that help us make our decisions or align with the decisions that we need to make today. So that's that. I feel like that's a good segue into, how we maybe ended up here in Bluffton, where I think there's like a divine intervention that may occur, whatever you want to call it, an act of providence that puts people in your life at certain times of when maybe you have your ears open. Right. And I feel like how we met Mike, and how we met, I was at a pivotal time in my life where I thought I needed to join the Revolt group, and that's where I met you and the things that I heard. And it's just funny how life works that way and how things stick with us that we still use. And it's funny because my dad uses a saying that had become our company motto was, and it came from his great grandfather. So it would have been, or his grandfather. So my great grandfather, I don't know if that's two greats in there or not, but anyhow, it starts out with, a job worth doing is worth doing right. And then we added the first time to the back of that, but that's just something that has stuck with me, no matter if it's me, hanging a piece of drywall or tie back on the side of a house. And I think most people would be like, okay, it's acceptable to hang that tie back paper upside down because no one's going to see it later once we cover it up with siding.
That upsets me hearing you even say that.
Right. I know.
Turning it upside down.
Yeah. And as weird as I am, that thought or that saying goes through my head. A job worth doing is worth doing right the first time. So no, guys, rip that down, turn it around and do it so you can read what it's, and it's kind of giving me goosebumps right now because those pivotal moments, I remember my dad screaming at me one time. It's funny because this is another one of those times I got in trouble. And he kind of like it back then it appeared like he kicked open my bedroom door, but he probably just came in. But it like, in my mind, and looking back and things get distorted. But he was yelling at me. Literally, I remember him screaming at me. That's my name in the newspaper too, boy. And back then it didn't register like, no, that's my name. Ty Backers. And
you made the newspaper.
Yes, a couple times. And not for good things early on in my life. But there was one of those pivotal moments in my life where it's like, once I got older and started to mature, those little seeds that have been planted over time is what made me who I am. And it's funny because I've been doing like some research and studying, and you hear people say like you are the sum of, right? But I think what they're talking about is like the sum of those people that we're hanging around today, which is very important. Okay. But if you really think back to who we've become, right, is because of the sum of those that influenced us early on as well, whether it was school teachers, whether it was the dude with the red Ferrari, like all of these influences have helped shape, or for better or worse, shape us into the individuals and created a paradigm, right? And for those of us that might know what a paradigm is, and not to get all woo-woo on us and stuff like that, but I did some research. What a paradigm actually is my perception and how I view things and how I see things, the picture that I see. And people talk about a paradigm shift, which is great. But I think what we need to do is take all those things that we've learned, right? And when we get older, we start to form our own opinions. And it could be about politics. It could be whatever, work ethic. It could be any of these things, but I don't think there should necessarily be a paradigm shift. I think the paradigm should get bigger because I should also take what I've learned in the past, right? Maybe keep some and throw some away and grow my perspective and how I see things, how I view things. I think that needs to grow. I think I need to keep a more open mind and listen to more things and look for more things like the red Ferrari dude, or the seeds that are planted like that. That's my name in the paper boy too. Or the job worth doing is worth doing right the first time, and carry those things because we know that they're conducive. But that's just my paradigm. That's my perception. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I read what paradigm means.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can correct you. I've frankly never paradigm.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really known or researched what they mean at a deep level.
Yeah.
And
I'm a weirdo like that. I just like to know what shit actually means, and especially when I'm doing I'm doing some research on the sum of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what how I've become, right? And like whatever school I went to, whether it be Harvard, whether it be Hooverville Elementary School, I am who I am today because of Mrs. Kerr or Mr. Krebs, the principal. Like if you really think about it, like those were the influences. That's what I was being taught.
But you remember specific ones.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Mrs. Kerr had a huge impact in my life, and so did Mr. Krebs, the principal.
I have a theory, and I have a question for Mike.
Yeah.
Because I know you pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe your attitude in your youth?
I mean, we got enough time. Yeah. I mean, well, it's funny because like you tell the red Ferrari story and you tell, your dad, and like, I don't remember a pivotal moment like that, right? Like a positive type deal, if you will. I just remember what I don't want to be. You know what I mean? Like, I raised my children with seeing how I don't want to do things. So I was like, well, I feel like the opposite is probably the right way or the better way. Attitude as youth, dude, horrible, bro. Like terrible. I was not a good person for a long, long time. And I didn't know if I knew any better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of roll through life and you're like, okay, well, I unfortunately had to learn the hard way most of everything.
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody. Well, I mean, my grandfather was there and he kind of taught me the hard-nosed, old school, like kind of deal with respect and things of that nature. But then, like I said, I had to learn the hard way through every aspect of everything that I did. Most of the time I did it the wrong way the first time and the second, and sometimes the third and the fourth, you know what I mean? And you kind of learn. My attitude definitely through a good portion of my younger days was not very good.
Well, that's why I asked. I had a hunch because I know my story. Like I'm smoking the cigarette. I know Ty's story. I don't know too much about yours. I know it was like many of us, you had some tougher stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it seems like salespeople, business owners, we're cut from a cloth that's not too dissimilar. Like I definitely, I mean, I grew up in a pretty wealthy community. I didn't have like we grew up broke, but I definitely had the bad attitude. I definitely got in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like you take the dysfunction, right? If you want to call it, when I grew up, my household, and not everything was dysfunctional, but 85% of it was dysfunction in some aspect or another.
Yeah.
And how it, with owning business or running business, sales, whatever you want to part, like it all plays. I mean, let's just be honest, man, this is a dysfunction. Yeah. Like most people don't want to live this way or know how,
Interesting about this conversation is, going back to like, this is, the things that we've experienced growing up and the sum of, and all those things and what has created our DNA today, and it sounds like most of us have been through some sort of adversity. Yep. Okay. Whether it was self-inflicted adversity due to bad attitude, not all of us, necessarily came from a broken household. We may have had a good household, but there may have been something outside of the household that was, made us overcome, or sometimes some people don't overcome those adversities. But those of us that have been able to rise above that, I think you were touching on like cut from a different cloth. I think our threshold for pain can be much higher than most normal people outside entrepreneurship, outside of sales, outside of what we do, you know what I mean, is it kind of gives us like an unfair advantage because we've made it through that. And I say to myself on a normal basis that like there's been things that I've overcome, good and bad things, that I reflect upon when I'm facing something today. I say to myself, well, if I got through that, I can get through this. Yeah. And most recently for me was that scuba diving trip. That was something, and again, that was a part of, and this is where this sum of journey really started for me, where I really started this just a couple months ago, where I really started to dive into like, those are the people I want to hang out with, that think that scuba diving's no big deal. Yeah. Okay. Because they're at a whole different level than I'm at. Right. And they no longer.
Wait. Tell me what you mean by that. Yeah. They think scuba diving's no big deal in terms of it's nothing to take a trip to the Bahamas and spend the money and the time.
All of it.
Or more from a fear place, getting underwater, breathing underwater.
Yes.
There's sharks nearby.
Yes, both.
Okay.
So the group of men that went on this trip, right, are just in general, whether it be success from, happy households, raising good kids, good quality, good core values personally and professionally, like the businesses that they run, and not just their professional business, but the business that they run at home. Okay. Mm-hmm. All of that I admire greatly. Joe Huffman, Eric O, Tim Brown. I mean, these are the types and the quality of people that we're on this trip with. But like Eric and a couple like George and Rick Winkle and those guys are like, scuba diving's no big deal. When I'm talking about the fear part of this, I'm thinking to myself, like, I love the water, everything about the water. I love being on the water. I love being around the water. Mm-hmm. Goes into
what about
going in? So
under the water?
I swim, and I'm a really good swimmer, and there's a reason for that, is because I have a traumatic story that had happened to me in a situation when I was younger. I drowned.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've become a very good swimmer because, of course, everybody kind of rallied around, saved me, got me out of the water, and the group of kids were like, "Hey, you need to learn how to swim." So, if you're going to hang out with us, you need to learn how to swim. So this was one of those pivotal moments for me. So here now we're like, they're convincing me it's a great idea to go scuba diving with sharks, with turtles, 100 feet underwater, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. So now this goes against, because I really start to think deeply about this.
Is this your first time scuba diving?
First time ever.
Yeah, in the Caymans, just recently.
Yes.
Okay.
Ever.
All right.
So I'm doing these training things, and they're like, okay, now it's going against everything that I was ever taught. Okay. In through my nose, out through my mouth, meditation, exercising, all these things that we've been taught. Now I can't do this. Yeah. Now I have to breathe straight through my mouth, relying on this tank that's on my back. Underwater, not through your nose, through your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
With gear
on. So they're teaching you all the horrible things that could happen underwater.
Yeah.
So each day, each minute, each hour that goes by during this training, I'm like, this isn't a good idea. This is really dumb.
Doesn't sound like a good idea.
But, as I'm talking to Eric about this, he's like, no, man, it's going to be great. And these guys do it all the time. So I started to lay in bed, and I started to think to myself, okay, first and foremost, I signed up for this. I have to complete this. One, all eyes are on me, whether it's Jenna, whether it's my kids, whether it's Eric O, whether it's the peers that I'm going with on this trip. I need to do what I said I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Second thing that came in my head that night that I was laying in my bed, I said, if I can't overcome this, what will I be able to overcome next time adversity strikes me?
Sure.
So if I can't do this and something happens, right, this will be stuck in my head that I gave up, I quit. And once you start to quit something, anything, you quit one thing, then quitting after that becomes much easier.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what kind of leader would I look like in front of my team after I pumped this whole trip up and it's like I decided not to go? And what if somebody asked me, why did you decide not to go? And I have to say, I'm scared.
Yeah.
What kind of quality of leader would I have been? Like, now that I might have blown that out of proportion. I'd be like, yeah, I don't because mostly everybody was like, yeah, dude, no, screw that. Right. But I'm like, nah, man, this is what I'm, and the cloth that you're speaking of, I think I'm amongst the same cloth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not to go down all these different little rabbit holes, but what I'm saying is like, that was one of those pivotal moments for me that took me to a whole nother level. So like grand opening, Bluffton, hire a bunch of people. Dude, I just went scuba diving 130 feet which
Your
I don't even know
your
if we were
first
supposed
round
to.
was
Yeah.
130.
Yeah, I don't even know if we're supposed to. 3, 4, 5 sharks.
Yeah.
Okay. I got the swim of the turtle that came up to my face. I got the pet him on the head, bro. This thing had to have been like, it's the size of this table, like 200 years old, had growth and coral shit growing on him. And I mean, like, this dude was old. I would have never been able to. And what was really metaphoric about this was exhale. Take it, like, anytime I started to panic or whatever, like, all I had to remember to do was just breathe. Just breathe. So, like, that whole experience was so life altering, and because of the sum of the people I chose to surround myself with on this trip helped push me to a whole nother level for me.
I got a question.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So I'm dive certified. Dad was a dive instructor.
Mm-hmm.
He's real Boy Scout. He also was a cave diver.
Whoa.
So imagine you can't go up in a cave. You're just there. So I get it. I remember the scariest part for me, because I'm mildly claustrophobic, the first breath when you're underwater and you're trying to figure out how to, like, train your body to breathe in that first breath. From that point to the first time you were open water with the fishies and the animals, how big was the change? How much panic did you have when that turtle was in your face?
0.
So, okay, confirmed. That was the question. So there's a really cool concept. The guy, Ron White from back home. Ron's a crazy cat. He was a crack addict, lived in a box. He tells a story of living in this box, and he would look out the holes, like it had the handles where you could pick the box up. He would look out from that, smoking crack. And he had a shift one day where he just decided, I'm done. How did I get here? I'm done. He drew a really great picture, 3 circles on a screen or on a page. The first one is comfort zone. The second one is stretch zone. And the third one is panic zone. And the 3 circles are, you live inside of comfort. 99% of people live in comfort. And it's different for everybody. Comfort for some people is food stamps. It's government household housing. For other people, it's, middle management. It's an end of day report, a check-in with the boss once a month. Like, as long as I do the bare minimum, I'm okay. For other people, comfort is chaos. They're comfortable. They're the most comfortable when there is chaos around them. And then there's the stretch. So when you start to live and try things new, the most obvious example in scuba diving is that first breath, because it's scary. But as soon as you do the first one, the very next breath, you're capable of doing it. And it's immediately obvious. Your comfort zone, that circle just got a little bigger. And I think that cloth, at least for the 3 of us, and there's similarities, there's probably a mathematical equation, plus, minus, divided, multiplied, that made up who we are. And I don't think it's the end all. It's not the only answer, because there's definitely people who aren't cut from the same cloth who are also successful.
For sure.
But if your mathematical formula tallies up similarly to this, I think it's important to note that your comfort zone, all of those negative influences, a dad who was tough on you, who kicked the door in, maybe it is growing up poor. Maybe it is growing up with drugs in the house. Maybe it's growing up getting arrested. Maybe it's having making poor decisions and ending up in the newspaper, whatever it may be. That creates that discomfort, that stretch. And if you stretch enough as a young person, your comfort is not the same as other people's. I'll make one more point and then I'll shut up. But This a lonely it's a lonely place to be sometimes when you live in a world where you've stretched and you've challenged yourself and you've researched and you've studied and you've gone and outworked and outstudied and outdone everybody around you. When you go to the barbecue and you're hanging out with people who are not entrepreneurial, they're not in sales, they haven't lived that tough life. Sometimes you guys tell me, this is where I'll stop. Do you find it hard to relate to them?
That's why I live in my house. I'm not like, it's hard. It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough because we go somewhere and like, I don't even know what to fucking talk to people about.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about, I don't really care about politics and like, I don't really, I mean, I do to an extent, right? But not like, I don't care. Like, I want to talk about growth and like, how do I become better? And like, and it's difficult to find those conversations. So like surrounding yourself with the right people is very important. But to your note, it becomes difficult. It definitely becomes difficult because I've never been very fake. I don't know how to pretend, you know what I mean? So like where my wife can have a conversation with anybody about anything. And I'm just like, I don't really care about football or baseball or the normal things. And sometimes it is tough. And it's hard for me to find those people to like, to have just normal friends, I guess, if you want to call it.
That's what I was
You know what I mean? Like find friends. We go to dinner and things like that, but I'm just like the guy that sits over here and like don't really say a whole lot. And, know, because I'm just not really into, I don't want to call it normal, but stuff that other people are into. You know what I mean? And they're not on your wavelength, right? They don't understand or think that way. And sometimes those conversations are different.
Isn't that wild? And here's like a big one. When you're at like a kid's party and you're watching other dads like try to assemble something, and you're like, "What are you guys doing? Get out of the way!"
Yeah, man.
When you problem solve all day long, you're comfortable solving problems. You're comfortable in a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
And it's when you see other people and they're arguing and bickering, and it's like, hold on, guys. It's almost like a kid, like a school project where somebody has to decide to be the leader of this thing. Yeah. Who's going to raise their hand first?
Yeah. It's like herding. They're trying to herd cats.
Yeah.
And you're just like, hey. It's that, but it's crazy because you see that so often.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah. And I like the point that you brought up too. And you're right. It can be a lonely place to be because like Mike touched on, even just to find friends or like-minded people, outside of work, and I think with some of the difficult thing is, Mike and I did an interview today, with somebody that, we're trying to find somebody of the same mentality of like, we just get shit done. What's my job description? Get shit done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, obviously there's more involved with it, but like,
no, that's the literal SOP.
Yeah. Seriously, just get shit done. Yeah. You know what I mean? To find and surround ourselves around those people. Not everybody within an organization or a family needs to be that way because I run hot. Okay. Jana overheard me say something to somebody and I was just rapid fire at this person. I caught myself and I slowed down a little bit and I was like, I'm sorry, I run a little hot. And Jana kind of chuckled like, oh, right, a little hot. You know what I mean? And and I have to realize too, not everybody is built like me. So, and I can't have my expectations for them to get shit done in the same amount of time. You know what I mean? So that's where patience, tolerance, and all that stuff comes into play. But my point is like, if I scan the room, and what I mean by that is like, if I scan the office, I couldn't have every single person in that office run as hot as I do. There needs to be compliments, right? Like they compliment me well. They're good at this. They're good at that. They can handle situations differently than I could, or they're smarter than me. You know what I mean? And I think that's where like good leadership comes into play, not to have as, a bunch of us, right? One, because we probably at some point in time start butting heads, but we also need that outside perspective too, Like Jana compliments me well. John Stauffer compliments me well. You know what I mean? Like where I have an imagination, he just makes it happen.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like we need those people in our life.
Yeah.
But not to get off your point, of it being lonely. Jana, it's funny. Jana and I have talked about this quite often because Jana I feel has been cut from the same cloth as us, and she's always been my rock and biggest supporter and just coming down here, like she's right with me. Like we drove I don't know how many hours yesterday to like pick things up, and like she wasn't done either. You know what I mean? And thank goodness for that. Because and that's the thing too. Our significant others, they have to know what they signed up for. You know what I mean? Or compliment what it is that we're doing in order for us to function at the high level that we're at. But the lonely part of it is like we had some best friends, and that didn't work out for one way or the I don't know why. And then we had some other friends that didn't quite work out either. And I think a lot of it had to do with was because the continuous growth that Jana and I continuously search for, that next level, that other book, that new podcast, that new diet, that new and with that, that's how we measure our success on how I feel from the inside out and what's radiating and what impact we're having on other people. And when I think you don't align with that, or you somewhere along the line stop growing, then there's a difference now. Like the thinking and the thoughts behind it and the amount of calories you're counting, or like something, it just doesn't collate or align any longer. And to find those same like-minded people, and listen, I love encouraging people, and inspiring people, but this is the other thing too. Inspiring can be tiring.
Yeah.
At times.
Preach.
You know what I mean? To continuously try to drag people along with you, on this journey that we're on, it takes a certain breed of individual, you know what I mean? And work ethic. That's the thing too. It's like, dude, and I'm the one that always feels like I don't do enough. I'm not doing enough. And I can guarantee it, both of you and Vic, I think I've heard all of us in this room say that, like, man, I should be doing this. And it's like, I felt guilty by sitting this morning trying to type that thing up and watching Robert's kids putting chairs together. Do you know what I mean? Because like I should be doing something, but it's kind of like, but I've learned to know that like sometimes I need my bandwidth over here. There's and we have a plan. We're all coming here Thursday, tomorrow morning, and it's going to be buttholes and elbows. And not that we're not going to get the things today, but how cool is it that we know? Yeah, I know we're going to get this done. You want to know why I know we will? Because you think the same way I do, and yet you're here.
Well, because there's no choice either.
Yeah.
It's like along those lines this week, I was like, all right, I have X today. Yeah. I have Y tomorrow. And this is what I'm focusing on today. Mm-hmm. I was in Atlanta yesterday. Yeah. I'm dealing with that situation. I don't care what's going on here right now because I found that will stress me out, and I'm not making headway in one thing. And you know what I mean?
I was guilty because I didn't do enough while you were gone.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was guilty. I didn't go with you. And
he's just at the beach, just hanging out.
Yeah, just hanging. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But it's the part. It's funny that we talk about this, and I keep in my head becoming comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and as chaos, right? We thrive. I thrive in chaos. I don't know how that is going to be healthy later in life, but it's like when things are calm, I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. Like I do not want to be in a calming situation. It's crazy because like Jamie and I have come from relatively similar backgrounds, drama, like chaos. And it's crazy that I even take the chaos and I thrive in it because our household, zero drama. Yeah. If you're in my house and you're negative and you're drama, you got to go because my brain, I can't function in that. But I will put myself in situations that are like, people are like, how are you going to do that? I don't know. I get it done. Here or there, we're over here with this. And she is just like that. And she is like, whenever shit needs done, we're just getting it done. Like, it doesn't matter what it takes. Doesn't matter how we're doing it. We don't have any money on our bank account to pay our bills. What are we going to do? I can't pick up the phone and call anybody.
Yeah.
Like, we got to go get it done. Whatever the situation is, whether it's the highest of situations or the easiest of situations, you got to get shit done, man. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Get it done.
No one's coming to bail you out.
Figure it out. And if you do it wrong, you just learn. You learn from that. And the next time I won't do it wrong. And well, I may still do it wrong, but we're learning from those situations and growth. And I think people reach thresholds of when they're not willing to continue to grow. And from everything that I've learned and podcasts I've listened to and successful people, you always have to continue to grow. And I think that's where you outgrow those people in your life.
Like the learning stops.
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it. We do it with sales. Every salesperson, everybody that I have underneath me, I've hired. I'm like, look, this is a 50-50 deal, bro. Meet me in the middle. I got you. I'll teach you everything I know. But when you're not meeting me here and you're going to start making me go over that line to grab you and pull you this direction, I got nothing for you, because it's not fair to everybody else that's doing the work to get to that spot. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about, you're talking about all the stuff like they can't see, but behind us is we're prepping for a grand opening for this office. It's happening in a couple of days, and there's a lot of boxes and TVs that are being hung and furniture being built. My kids were over here. They were turning screwdrivers, and it made me think. This dynamic here reminds me of one of my best friends in the whole world. When we work on a car together, because like part of my piece, I'll still tinker because it lets me do brainless activity. Yeah. If he's with me or he's leading a project, whatever, we're together, we don't even have to ask each other for what tool we need. Yeah. We just know the next thing that has to happen. And he doesn't even have to look up. He can just reach over, grab a tool. This feels a lot like that, where like you guys were doing something when I came in. I already know. Like, we haven't discussed a game plan, but there's boxes and there's furniture and there's shit that needs to get done. Pick up something, put it together, and we'll deal with it when we get there.
It was funny that you say it, because like Jana was over here earlier and she were putting a plan down. We need to get this. We're going to do this day. And then we finished that and she goes over here and I hear her and Jamie. They're like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I laugh because my brain doesn't work that way. Like, hey, there's 12 bar stools, 4 TVs, a floor that needs done. Go. Who does what? I don't give a shit how it gets done or who does it. Like, let's just get it done. And then sometimes during the chaos, leaders will be like, okay, strategically, I need you to do this, whether it's because it's something we don't want to do, or just something that person may be better because we need to be over here doing that. But it's just, at the end of the day, like, I had a guy that went into a leadership role and he called me and he was like, hey, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, I can't explain that. I know I get up in the morning and I have these things that need to be done. And
truthfully, you can explain it. A lot of pain, a lot of chaos, decades and decades of getting my teeth kicked in. And if you want to be like me, you can do it too.
There's no secret potion of today.
Put into work.
Well, so that was the next question. We talked about off camera before we started this, people who just won't do the work. Mike and I had a discussion. We don't remember the context, but this is part of that. Team. So you've got a dynamic of people here who all can get stuff done without really having to think about it. And then there's always people on the team. They just don't quite fit in. And I don't know if they know it, but usually everybody who gets it has some inkling that guy's not pulling his weight. And there's just a little bit of, they're not willing to do the work. So I don't know what
that does a couple of things.
What does that do for you?
Okay. Well, it does a couple of things. One, okay. So to Mike's point, delegating things to people, or if they're not pulling their weight, if it's not 50-50. Okay. if it's not 50-50, then I'm being distracted from what it is that I need to be spending my time doing.
So there's a sum, and then there's, I forget what the subtraction version is.
Yeah.
But we can be adding to each other.
Yes.
But you can also
But
be
you're taking away.
subtracting.
Yes. So you're taking away, okay, my energy from what it is that I'm supposed to be working on. But the other fold to that is like, I know that there's other things that my time is better well spent doing. So I need you guys to do this, right? And and it's not that I'm expecting you to do it, but like, it's just, it should come natural for you to know that, yeah, I got to get this done so Boss Man can do whatever it is. But this is my part that I play in the team to get shit done.
Yeah.
And when there's a hitch in the get up like that, then we got to stop what we're doing, go over there, complete the bar stools. Okay.
Yep.
And now that means the strategic thinking, that like, we need you guys to do the tactical stuff.
Yep.
We're going to go over here. We're going to do the strategic stuff. We're going to think about this. We're going to come up with the SOPs, the KPIs, stack the boxes 6 high so they don't tip over, like whatever thinking that is required, right? But if you don't surround yourself around people like Robert, when he walked in, all you had to do was scan the room and be like, okay, we're putting shit together
immediately.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why you are the sum of this table sitting here, because like, even when I said to you, like, we got a little team building thing going on. Okay. I know for a fact that you could, all I got to do is give you the marker. You're going to go with it and you're going to feed right into whatever it is that I'm doing. I've seen him do it.
Yep.
I've seen him do it. And I've seen him on stages. I've seen him write shit down. So it's like, I didn't tell him what we're doing, but here's your whiteboard and here's the marker. I just need you to write a few words down on the board.
No pressure, Robert.
But, and he needs to participate in this, challenge with us. And I know it's such a good feeling, to be around people. But when there is that individual or individuals, okay, let's talk about the culture part of it. Well, if he's not doing it, then why should I do it?
Yeah.
And that is as strong as you are. That's as weak as you. That's as weak. You are that weak. That weakest individual, the weakest link, however you want to phrase that. That's all the better that the company, the quality, the culture is. Because if someone's not pulling their own weight, or they're not following the process, or they don't know what they're doing, and they won't tell you they don't know what they're doing and ask better questions, they're bringing the entire team down. It is ruining the culture. And that's where resentments get started.
My superpower is asking questions.
Yes, it is.
And I have another question.
For sure.
Yes.
I have another question.
And this is why I know he's going to be good with the marker and the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where I may lack, he's going to pick up.
Pick it up. Yep, for sure. 100%.
And I don't even have to tell him what the hell it is we're doing.
So here's where my mind's going for a question. We've talked about the sum, and now we've touched on people who aren't pulling their weight. They're not
the subtraction of
they're taking away from the team.
Yeah.
Now, I want to hear from you guys, because I think you have a big audience of business owners and professionals who could use some introspection. They could use, they should be able to be thinking about, how can I use this for my teams? So when you have somebody who's subtracting, how do you make a decision to say, I think they can make it, and I should pour into them to guide them, pull them, push them, or they got to go? Where's that line in the sand for you guys?
It's a difficult line. I think every scenario, like every situation, is different, right? Like, I think sometimes you feel it right off the bat. You're just like, look, man, this is not. I can already tell this isn't going to work. They may not fit in right into what the culture. They may not fit into the deal. You can look at. I know you look at core values a lot. Let's look at core values, and I love the book that I've listened to multiple times. And I love it. Like, are we aligning with what we're trying to do? And then you may have that person that aligns, and I think it might just be like, man, I fucking like you, dude. Like, I want you to win more than you want to win.
Yeah.
So that line may be drawn a little bit further out. I think what it comes down to is, if you're not bringing value, I don't know what to do for you. I'm not expecting you to come in and know everything. I'm here to teach you. But if you're not coming to here, and again, to your point, you're taking me away from my team, other people that need my help. It's my line is probably shorter. I'm not going to say than what it should be, but if you're not going to put it in and you're not going to meet me, you're taken away from the company and your teammates.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's playing. We're not a team if you're taken away from me. From me helping the other team for us all to win. It's kind of selfish, if you will, in that aspect.
For sure.
I don't know. It might be selfish in some cases for you not to push that person out.
Yeah,
if you're not
100%.
here, it's selfish for them to take away from your goals.
Yep.
And it's selfish for you not to go after yours.
Yep.
Or rather, like, you're letting your ego get in the way of your goals, which are for us. I know in this case, we have families, we have legacy, we have goals that we're trying to accomplish. There's a bit of selfishness when you let somebody else take away from your plans.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's crazy. We just went through a situation where I'm always one for helping people. Like I've been through drug addiction. I've been through the nonsense, right? So when somebody's struggling, it's like, I feel like God put me in the situation and give me the opportunities to try to help people as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
My line is clear cut, bro. Like I want to help you in every situation. We brought somebody into our house. Let's help. Let's help. My line is clear, bro. Because now you've disrupted my issues, my family. If you're here and you're doing everything you need to do, I will definitely help you in those situations because I come from that. I know what that looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as sales. They're like in teams, you're not giving back. You're not trying. I'm very good at that kind of thing. Cut it.
Yeah.
Out the door. You know what I mean? And sometimes those situations are very hard, but you take that not only in team building, but I think you have to take that into life.
Yeah.
Like every aspect of life, because it plays a part in every aspect. Jamie is like, how do you most of my family, I cut the ties, man, because they just weren't doing the things. They weren't, they weren't bringing value, and I was trying to become better and, things of that nature. And I don't know why I become kind of good at it. But on the other side of that, if you're trying, dude, I got you.
Yeah.
Arm around you. Let's go. We're going to win. And it sometimes it's very hard to, I know I do anyway. I look back and I'm like, man, did I do enough? Knowing damn well I did enough.
Yeah.
But I always want to be sure because I never want somebody to fail because of me. Because, hey, if I would have given just a little bit more, but there's that trick.
Yeah.
That trick that you're just going to keep pouring and keep pouring and keep pouring. And I've done that in the past, like you said, with ego. You're not going to lose, man. I'm going to make sure you win. We can't do that the whole way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good point, with the ego thing. And I've struggled with this forever. Okay. I've kept people around entirely too long, professionally and personally. And I don't know if it was necessarily an ego thing, more maybe a fear thing. And I think a lot of it goes into, did I do enough? Right. When I was younger, I'd let people go right away, and I didn't handle situations very well. I never looked for the solution. Okay. So, and I've seemed like I've always been in some form of management position or leadership role. And I remember showing up on job sites and just like freaking out. Right. And like, why did you guys not get this wall done or something like that? Not even taking into consideration that, did I have enough equipment there? Did I have the right equipment there? Did they run short material? So I've learned to take a step back and like, look for like, okay, what was it? Too windy, right? Was it too hot? Was it, you know what I mean? Like, cause again, going back to, I would have gotten it done, but I can't set that expectation for other people. And I have, and it's made me look bad. So I've been on that end of things. I've been where when you try to work on it, you tend to, at least for me, my experience is where I went to the other extreme.
Yeah.
Where now I've become a doormat. Okay. Now I've become a doormat. I let people in my life that shouldn't have been in my space take up time, take up energy, resources, finances, all that stuff. Right. And have kept people around entirely too long because I like them. Right. I'm basing a lot of this stuff has to do for me. I'm basing long-term results on my short-term emotions, which has screwed up more things than good over the time frame. And Robert, you and I had a conversation earlier, and it's like, okay, did we, because I always do this, I'm pointing the finger at you, but I got 3 pointing back. Was there KPIs put in place? Was there SOPs? Did we have core values? Because it's real easy to sit here and say, yeah, if you're not, and the gentleman we talked about yesterday made it super simple for me that I had to let go of my best friend, right? Lesson learned there. You know, it was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do, but it was also, it was one of the easiest things I had to do, because back then we had a little plaque with 4 words on it: integrity, honesty, loyalty, and I can't remember what the last one was. But I set that strategically on the table and was like, listen, went down through the list of things that he did, didn't even explain why I was necessarily letting him go. But I was like, dude, you've crossed the line on every single one of these. So without having core values put in place, you're not putting the rails. You're not giving them the playground in which they can play in. You know what I mean? As long as you have that fence up and say, don't cross over these lines, it should make the decision making simpler. Now, if we follow it, that's a whole nother thing. And it's difficult, because especially when your goal in life is legacy, leadership, and impact, right? So I think where I fail miserably at times is like, you know, if I'm letting this person go, there's going to be a negative. I think about that.
Yeah.
It's going to have a negative impact on their lives. They're going to lose their job. They're going to have to go home to and I take pride, and pride's not necessarily a good word. I take it to heart to provide a household, a new grocery getter. These things, when people roll up in the office, in the parking lot, and they got their new cars, they're buying houses, you know, and again, maybe that's my ego, but that's what makes my heart happy. But that's why I stick my feet on the floor every single morning and suit up and show up, regardless if I'm here or wherever I am. That's what drives me. My family, providing for, and I think of their family. And these things that I'm talking about are not what went through my mind when I was younger in a leadership position, because I didn't care about the consequences. That more so for me was my ego.
Yeah.
Back then. And today, I think I actually give a shit about people probably too much, but there's also that line that you got to draw. Like, we've poured into these people. Now it's ruining. That's the standard.
Yeah.
You know, now that's been pointed out to me. Like, that's our standard. So, am I okay with that? No, I'm not. How long have we been down this road with this individual or individuals or this department or this team or this process? Okay. And it will also help you make decisions quicker with having these things put in place on processes. Does the process, and without the process, you don't know if it's an individual or personnel issue, right? Was it lack of training? Was it incompetency? Or is it a process issue that needs tweak? Was there a gap that we missed? Was there a hole that needs to be filled? Without having and core values, they all correlate. You can't have core values without KPIs. You can't have SOPs without core values. Every single one of those things you need to have. And the older I get and the more mature I get, the more mature the business gets, I realize how much those three, you can't have core values without KPIs and or SOPs. And they should all interweave with each other. And that in a nutshell, and I'm not perfect at this, is how it should be done.
Yeah.
Clarity.
Yep. And that's just rules.
I was about to say.
Yeah. The clarity. And that's the thing where I've been guilty of.
It's not easy. It's not easy to figure that out. And the only differences that I know is because I was part of an organization that had none of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, hey, if somebody came to me and said, hey, what do you do? Like, honestly, I don't fucking really know.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I do. You know, I'm not sure of the clarity, of the clarity of the vision. I know Posey talks about the vision all the time. Clarity. It is simple, but it is a key factor, because once the waters are muddy, it's just too many excuses.
So let's draw an analogy here. I would say all of us here, and probably everyone listening, has been in a bad relationship at some point in their life.
No.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
You go into a bad relationship, and while you're in it, you're hanging on to certain things. Maybe it can work. I'll try hard. But then when you get out of it, when you finally have enough, you have a lot of clarity and a lot of awareness about what I will never tolerate again.
Yep.
So I think, there's a book I want to, there's actually several books I want to write. One of them is, I don't have a title, but it's basically algebraic formulas for success. And then I'll break those into business. I'll break those into sales. I'll break them into lots of categories. But these formulas, what we're talking about, the blanks that need to be filled in, the values, the mathematical values, some of those are core values. Some of that is going to be expectations, clarity, awareness, self-respect. You have to have, is a great quote, self-discipline is a prerequisite for self-respect, and self-respect is a prerequisite for courage. I want courageous people around me. So what standard do I have to observe? Mathematically, I can set the expectation and I can base my interviews on I'm looking for people who have discipline. So sports. I know that if you played sports growing up, odds are you had somebody putting discipline in your path, right? If you've played those sports and you've done those things at any level, and especially at a high level, you probably have earned some self-respect. If you've been doing anything, it could be piano, it could be archery, it could be scuba diving. If you've done it long enough and you've studied it long enough, you've earned some degree of self-respect. Here's what's interesting. That self-respect, if it's knitting and you're just the best person at crocheting blankets, you'll have enough confidence in that it carries into other aspects of your life because of the discipline and the self-respect. So I do believe that there's algebraic formulas, mathematical formulas that we can use to reproduce results. And if we have the formulas, we can tell through practice and our own discipline if the equation doesn't check out or not. Alex Hormozy, he says, you can tell if somebody's going to be a winner in the first week. If they don't make it in the first week, how you make the decision to cut them or pull them or push them really depends on you and how much self-respect you have for the expectations you set based on the values you have in place and the legacy you're trying to reach and the vision and the goals you're trying to achieve. All of that stacks up to easy decision making. But you're right. It's very difficult to find out what goes inside of your algebraic formulas.
It's like you kind of add things here, put things here. This doesn't work. This doesn't. My process for interviews, Paul, the sales manager in Charleston, called me and said, "Hey, like, what's your expectation of interviews?" We have a slideshow that I used to use. Goes over core values. It goes over this, and I kind of threw that in the garbage myself. And I was like, I'm done. I want, like, this is the process. Jamie puts in the email appointment this morning. Appointment's at 8:30, right? You need to be signed in before 8:30 and 1 second. You're not in that room. You weren't signed in. I don't have anything for you. And Paul kind of questioned me on that. And I was like, look, if you can't follow a simple process to get on an interview for a job that you're applying for, if I hire you and I say, hey, you need to go into our CRM and you need to do this, are you going to follow that process? No.
Right.
No, you're 100% not. We have people that call outside of, hey, I'm so much better than everybody else. I've been doing this for 100 years, but I just can't follow your process. I need you to follow mine. Sorry, man, I don't have anything for you. And if you have those things put in place, it makes your decision making, and it kind of takes the emotion out. Whether I like you, I want you to win, so I'm gonna drag you along for a lot longer than what I really should. You're able to make those decisions hard or easy, whatever that is. But now you're taking the emotion kind of out of it, and I think that's easier to for me to try to control my emotions. Has been a difficult thing to do over my lifespan. So it's easy now. I can take these. This is the processes. This is what we're doing. If you step out either way, that's kind of where a relationship ends.
and I
Emotion
think,
doesn't have to be in it at that
for sure,
point.
100%.
yeah, and I think the other thing is too, when it comes to hiring people and hiring the right people, don't, at least for me, years ago, it was like, and I think we're actually getting better at this, is hiring slower. Our hiring process is definitely more picky. And I feel like we're not selling people to come work here anymore. I felt like years ago, like it was me trying to sell people on why they should come work here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't know if anybody else can relate to that in like the interviewing process. And I found myself talking more than they were, which is not, it's like you almost want the opposite of that. Like they need to sell you on why they should work here. That might sound egotistical, but I think going through the ringer over the years of just hiring people that say they can do this and say they can do that, and then they get in here and it's like, wow, that's like they didn't bring any value to the table, because let's face it, that's what we're looking for. And again, that might sound arrogant or egotistical, but like we're looking for those that can bring value to it. It's like I really honestly believe that it's, you should feel like it's an honor to work here. Because we are, the things that we're doing. We had a great interview this morning. The guy said, like, dude, I want to work for you guys. I want to work for you guys. I wanted to work for you guys. Like, those are the people. You know what I mean? And this was like the third, fourth, maybe the fifth time we spoke to this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're not jumping right in bed, kind of like dating. You know what I mean? We're not kissing on the first date here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're trying to take it. And again, have we done that recently? We did. I'm guilty of bringing people in. But if you really look at the position that we're in right now, and if you can stay proactive, you should have enough time to interview, have that interviewing. It should be a process. It's like, if you're doing it right, then you should go on multiple dates, right? And not kissing on the first date. You should have multiple meetups, their place, our place, a neutral place, like whatever the case might be. Okay. Of vetting that person, that whether it's a relationship or hiring process, there should be multiple steps to that. There should be multiple dates that you meet at different times and have different conversations for clarity purposes. Like, these are our expectations, but we also expect you to have expectations for us too. And that's called accountability. Yeah.
Accountability can't go one way. And I've learned that, because I used to, think that I'm going to hold you as a sales rep accountable for these numbers, but I'm not giving you what I need to give you from my end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why in the conversations we had this morning, people don't really realize that I'm going to hold you accountable. I need you to hold me accountable. And without even knowing, my team holds me accountable on a daily basis, and they don't even know it. They have no idea that I know that I need to attempt to be the best version of myself every day and become better and better, because eventually I'm going to teach them everything that I know.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Now what do I got to offer?
Yeah.
Now I'm not bringing them value any longer.
Right.
So I have to continuously keep trying to get better. And I think if people have that mindset of not only what are you going to bring me, because that is our culture mindset, but what am I going to bring to you? Grandfather always taught me, how's somebody going to pay you if that company's not making money? And that has stuck with me throughout my life of like, okay, I need to make you money in order for me to make money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes into multiple different aspects of different things, but that mindset is, I'm going to bring you value, and you have value that you're going to give me. And if each of us are giving each other value, that's a pretty solid relationship for the long term.
Love that.
Until one stops on one side.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we're at 1:16. I'm not sure exactly what time we started. I know it wasn't at 12. Okay. Well, I mean, to sum this up, whether it was work ethic, the sum of those that you surround yourself with, making the right decisions isn't always easy. Learning to delegate, grit, the hours, the overcoming adversity, continuous education. I think that's one of the biggest things that, takeaways from this is, especially when it comes to teams and things like that. But I also think too, like not being afraid of surrounding yourself around people that may be smarter than you, whether, that's the circles of people that you run with outside of work to help level yourself up. But also, I think most importantly, one of the lessons I've learned in my career is to bring people into the organization that are smarter at other aspects that maybe I don't have as much time for today. And what I mean by smarter is doesn't necessarily mean that their IQ is, but I'm saying they're just better at something than I am is what I mean. You know, they could be better at QuickBooks. Do I know QuickBooks? Yeah, I do, but I don't have all day long to enter accounts payable, the receivables, the, you know, things like that. Website design. I always bring up John Stauffer because, you know, why would I want to take 3 months to redesign our website when John can do it in 30 days, when there's better time for me to be spent, you know, on maybe higher level things that are for the betterment of the company. So if you're just now checking in with us, you know, please check this out on not Instagram, but maybe a reel or two on Instagram, but our YouTube page, Facebook, Spotify, Google, and Apple Play, because I really think that, you know, if you're in a managerial position, any kind of position, quite frankly, you're probably going to get something from this podcast. Is there anything that you guys want to close this out with, to maybe help sum this up, or just leave a nugget for, it doesn't even have to be on the topic.
My one nugget to finish this off, what Mike's talking about from a leadership perspective, asking your team to be willing to hold you accountable is easier said than done. And I'll say why. Every human being is born with an ego. It's there to protect us and keep us alive. We don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore. We have different kind of modern threats. You know, money depleting in the bank account, that's a threat. The tax man, that's a threat. Not hitting our goals, that's a threat. When we show up with this ego trying to protect, when we as business owners can't set it aside, it makes it impossible for them to give us feedback. When you've reached a certain level of leadership, like you're discussing here, you have to make sure your team knows that they're safe.
Yeah.
Because if their ego tells them it's not safe to tell him the truth, it's not safe to be vulnerable, because every boss they've had up until this point, every leader, quote unquote, they've had up until this point has kicked their teeth in. It makes it really hard to have a two-way conversation. So that would be the only, my closing nugget for everybody is, if you have any doubt as to whether you have an ego, you do, and you need to set it all the way down, period.
You know the acronym for ego?
No.
Edging God out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Edging God out. So for those of us that might believe in a God or whatever that is, that's something that we use. So anytime your ego gets in the way, you're edging God out. Okay. So, but I like what you both said. It is hard. It's a skill, and skill means that's something that you can work on and get better at.
Yeah.
You know, so if you feel like, obviously, like you said, we all have egos. It's okay to be held accountable. It's okay to be vulnerable. Okay. Especially with your teams and coworkers, right? Like, oh, I made a mistake. Hey, I'm the first one to admit it. You know, that's the type of relationships that I know we have. And I know that's the type of relationships that we're trying to build here. Yeah. And I think that's what makes this so unique, because it's not a dictatorship. You know, and it's not, you know, the suggestions are open. The suggestion box is open. Throw your suggestions in there, like, because we're, you know, and that's the thing about bringing people in, you know, for their skill sets, right? What are they? We want to see what they can bring to the table. Yeah. What do they have to offer, right? But in the same token, you know, there has to be guide rails put in place. But it's okay to be vulnerable with your team and show them that you are weak in these areas, and that we both need to hold each other accountable in this, because without accountability, there's no progress. Right. And without progress, there's no growth. Okay. Yeah. And what, you know, can't be measured, can't be scaled. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. It's the impact that we're having on people's lives, the community, this community in particular here this week. And that's what makes this week so special, because whatever we've done at any other location or any other state, we plan on bringing that same theory, that same impact here, is to improve the quality of the community, to improve the quality of lives of those that come work here and to serve, right? Those that work with us and the community that we are in right now. We are here to serve and make this a better place than it was than when we found it. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but we can definitely improve it. I had to close that because Siri was recording me.
I saw that.
But anyhow, this has been such a great episode. Check us out on Spotify, Google, Apple, Facebook, and obviously YouTube. Put your comments in there. Don't forget to like, love, share this. And if you guys ever have any topics or questions, please put them in the comments or reach out to Mike, Robert, myself, Vic, or anyone else that's associated with this company. And we'll try to hit you up on those questions, answers, responses next week. So until then, you guys have a great Wednesday, because I know we are.